Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Pseudo Ludo, and this week and for the coming several weeks, we got some special events coming on. Because I don't know if you guys have heard, we're getting a console release pretty soon. Actually, more than one if you want to be technical with it. We're getting the PS5 and the Xbox. The Xbox random letters. That's all they. Xbox and Elon Musk have very similar naming conventions. It seems. Just slapping all kinds of nonsense together. But regardless, I'm joined here by Brian and Nick, and we're going to get into our plans for the coming few weeks, where we're going to have some special episodes coming up.
Hey, I'm Brian. That's me.
And I'm Nick. It's me.
So, guys, it's the end of a generation. It's been a great generation, but it is the end, and it's time to kind of discuss it and say, what we liked about it, what we might not have liked as much, and to that, we're going to have a few episodes where we kind of dive in deep to certain aspects of this generation. So today we're going to be talking about our favorite indie games of the generation. And every week until the release of the PlayStation 5, we'll have more discussion about our favorite things. Be it our favorite moments, our favorite developers. You never know what you're going to get, because we might change our minds on the topic. So. How you guys doing?
I'm out here.
It was kind of a long
I'm
intro,
alive.
but I think
it was a little. I would say lumbering.
It was lumbering. That's a good word for it. That's how I felt as I did it. Nick, how do you feel?
I'm all right. As long as you forgive me for the atrocities I committed yesterday.
We'll get into that.
What the fuck does that mean?
You stand accused.
I'm out on whatever that entails. Probably some Minecraft nonsense.
That is absolutely. and on that note, what have you been playing, Nick?
Well, first thing I did yesterday was actually get back into the Crash Insane trilogy. I started back in the first game, and I was on the bridge level for about 2 hours. I beat it after a lot of attempts. And then, following that, Tim, you and I went back to the Skyblock, and we were doing pretty well.
That's on Minecraft, by the way.
Yes, in Skyblock and Minecraft. And we were doing pretty well. We had a good setup going. We're starting to get our mob spawner ready. We got a potato. We were on our way. And, I was holding down the mouse, trying to mine some cobblestone, as you do in Skyblock. And it took a long time to generate the next block, so it mined out the bottom cobblestone block that we had. So water was falling off the edge. I wanted to cover it up so we didn't lose any cobblestone blocks to the water and just pushing it off. But, hindsight is really 20/20. I should have gotten the bucket and picked up the lava, but in my infinite wisdom, I tried to mine away the cobblestone block and quickly place another cobblestone block where the missing one was, and I missed, and the water flooded the lava block, creating obsidian, and the Skyblock run was over.
Yes, it was. To my infinite disappointment, it was over in a very preventable way, mind you. So yeah, there was that.
I don't make mistakes then.
Yep, yeah, that's right. And some of them cost us hours of work, and others don't. To that point, I actually started my own Skyblock again today to kind of move on and heal a little bit. And it's going well, Nick. It's going very well.
It looks like it.
I got a nice mob spawner going. I relearned the fact that creepers do not die when the sun comes out. So I went to the top of the mob spawner to keep building it, and there were like 10 of them up there. So they kind of turned it into Swiss cheese for a while until I was able to throw some torches down and wean them off and stuff. But now we're back. We're back in the saddle. So feel free to hop in and
do you want that?
And join in on that game. Well, right now it's an offline game, so I can upload it to the realm that we have. But I'll also have the offline version in case you destroy it. So I like that. I like having a backup.
Like, maybe I'll start my own and play without you, and we'll see.
Well, I don't know if that's, I don't know how that's gonna go for you, but I haven't played much else this week other than some of The Witcher 3 and some of Final Fantasy 4, both of which I like and am still playing through. And in general, I'm just trying to cut back on my backlog before these new consoles come out. Brian, what about you?
I have been playing the new Crash Bandicoot game, Crash Bandicoot 4. It's about time, and it is absolutely wonderful. It's just such a joy to play, honestly. It's clearly a labor of love for the original three games, and it's just like as good of an experience as I could ask for as a fan of the Insane trilogy. I didn't play the first three games growing up. I got into them through the Insane trilogy when it came out in 2017. And this just feels like something that really naturally and organically and satisfyingly builds upon the blueprint that those games put together. It stays very true to like the hardcore difficulty and platforming that the originals had, but also builds like there's just so much content and there's multiple playable characters, multiple different ways that levels can kind of go, because they have like a suit that you can do anti-gravity and a suit you can slow down time, and there's just a large variety across each level. Like, it's never boring. It's extremely fast paced because when you die you respawn really really quickly, so it's very easy just to get into a loop and just play and play and play. And it's just so charming and colorful and fun. It's been such a pleasure to play, and I would love to platinum it, but I don't think I have what it takes. I'm like almost done with the main campaign, and there's a ton of bonus stuff, and some of the bonus stuff that I've messed around with is like really, really difficult. But they also have like an inverted mode where the levels are backwards, and branching pathways with different characters that play like differently, so that the levels are, it's not just like the platforming. Like, you can play as the villain, Dr. Cortex, who has like a gun that can turn enemies into platforms. So it's like the Crash levels will play very differently from the other playable characters, so it adds a lot of variety, but it never really feels like it is a different game, you know what I mean? It all fits together in a really coherent way. And it's just, I love platformers, I love mascot games, and it's just so fun and refreshing to see something so pure and like nostalgically done. Like, it just feels like such a passionate project, and it's awesome. I hope they make more.
It would have been nice if Crash Team Racing was not a microtransaction fest.
Yeah, I'm not convinced that this won't end up being a microtransaction fest somehow because it's Activision, but for now it's not, and it's awesome.
That's cool. I'm glad you're enjoying it. It sounds like a great value. It sounds like Toys for Bob did a good job. I hate the name of their studio, but that's neither here nor there.
Why?
Got a problem with him?
Hey, that's just a weird name, don't you think?
I mean, I feel like most game studios have silly names.
Yeah, but like that is beyond the realm of like, do you really want like people like, that's what you got to put in your resume. You got to say I work at Toys for Bob.
It's no better than Naughty Dog or Sucker Punch. Naughty Dog makes games that preach about violence at you, but it's called Naughty Dog. You know what I mean? It's just strange.
It sounds a little bit more ambiguous than Toys for Bob. Like, this makes me wonder who Bob is. Like, what if like The Last of Us was made by Naughty Bob? You know what I mean?
That'd be better.
All right, when we get to the favorite developer app, I'm gonna go with Naughty Bob.
Yeah, I'm all in on it. I'm buying all the Naughty Bob stock right now.
Yeah, good. Up and coming team. So, do you guys want to get into the news?
Sure.
Well, Cyberpunk 2077 has gone gold, which means it will no longer risk another delay. So I guess that's good news for everyone who's excited to play it this fall. Other than that, there's not too much that comes out of this. There's still going to be huge day one patches and stuff. So, yeah, the more I'm thinking about it, the more I'm realizing that it's probably best that I have other games that I'm going to play right at launch, because Cyberpunk is definitely going to get a lot of fixes in the first like month or so, I bet.
Yeah, and it's also just so long.
I know that was the case with The Witcher 3. They patched it and they made a lot of things better. So Yeah, with a game that big, and I'm sure it'll have so many bugs like right at launch that it's probably best to just wait a month.
When are they gonna make The Witcher
Play
3
it at
better
its
though?
best. And this kind of leads into Ghost of Tsushima,
No
the
acknowledgement.
update that just came out, or that is coming out in a couple weeks. It adds a new game plus mode and a new multiplayer mode, and I think it has some other various quality of life things.
Yeah, there's a bunch
Like
of
you can
miscellaneous.
set loadouts, which is like great. And there's not too much, in this actual news. It's a PlayStation blog post, but it does kind of like lead into that discussion of like, wow, it is better sometimes to just wait and play the game when it has all these features. Like I would have liked loadouts, you know what I mean?
I'm just
But-
looking forward to the multiplayer stuff. That sounds cool.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Sounds like a lot of fun.
You guys are gonna. I'll have to download it again, but I'm definitely down to try it.
Is the 4-player one, and then there's 2-player ones too. The 4-player survival and 2-player story.
Oh yeah. I think
I think
Yeah,
the
I think
survival
both
would be a lot of fun.
that could be fun, depending on how it actually plays.
Yeah,
My theory is that you're playing as like the legends that you hear about in the game.
I mean, it's
Because
called.
there's
It's also
4.
called Legends.
Yeah. Well, maybe
You're
that's
so
why.
smart, Tim.
But there's 4 heroes, and they said it's like a mythical based story, so it should be cool. They have some kind of new enemy or boss called like Oni, which is like a demon. I think we're in for a treat. Hopefully, it's just kind of weird that it randomly drops like months after the game,
Yeah.
but no complaints. Free content.
All right.
Next,
Next is where I take my
yeah.
headphones off for 10 minutes.
Steven hit Smash Bros. Yeah, so Minecraft it now has a representative in Super Smash Bros, which is fantastic. In last week's Nintendo Smash Direct, we got a nice cinematic introducing Steve to the world of Super Smash Brothers, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. I can't wait.
Tim, this is something we've been
they
wanting
also-
for years, and we finally got it.
Nick and I have been rambling to each other about potential moves and skins and stuff for Steve. So they've confirmed Alex, the skeleton, or no, not the skeleton, zombie and Enderman are alternate skins, which is cool.
The other skins are Tennis Steve. There's another Steve, just like variation, and then Alex has the same one. She has Tennis Alex, and then, like the same, whatever the same variation is for the that makes up the total of 8 skins.
Okay, cool. That there was like, because Steve did look different, and they changed how he looked at one point. So maybe that's one of the variations. I don't know. I didn't actually see it.
I don't know.
But yeah, what do you guys think about this? I think he's going to be a really fun character to play as. I love roster expansions that actually add new franchises instead of just another
Fire Emblem character.
in that franchise. Yeah, and even Zelda, even stuff like Mario. It's cool to get like a very diverse roster, and it's cool to see something that seemingly will play so uniquely with the block placement and stuff like that.
No matter how bad I am with this character, they're gonna be my main. It's everything I've wanted.
Yeah, I'll give you guys shit for this because it's fun, but nah, this is a terrific pick and a great addition to probably the best of any of the fighter pack additions except for Banjo-Kazooie, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a top tier.
At least in terms of like the character, like not exactly like obviously we don't know how fun he is to play with or whatever, but
right.
just in terms of like a franchise mascot, that's a really, really good pick.
Yeah, huge game, instant recognizability, and just like a general aesthetic that I think would fit very well in Smash, like with the weird looking characters like Game & Watch and stuff like that, Duck Hunt. So it's cool to get stuff like this. I hope we see more like reverence for the characters they add, and not just the 9th Fire Emblem character.
The one negative part of this, which has become a meme within our group chat, is Sakurai's initial presentation, where he looked and sounded miserable about this character.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, that man, I think he's just accepted his fate at this point.
It sounded very much like Nintendo made him do this, and didn't sound fun. He said he had to recreate every stage so that you can place blocks on them, which that
Yeah,
sounds like a
this
lot
is
of
a
work.
man who, I think he said every Smash Brothers game since Melee would be his last. So he's been looking for an out for a long time, but has yet to stumble across it.
And they
They
peered
make it
at me
sound
over their
easy.
glasses.
Peering over their spectacles.
Like, why would they let him say that?
They sound
He
like,
was in-
like
he-
anime villains.
He
when
was
says
in
it
his
that
house
way, like-
alone. No one could stop him.
But didn't somebody have to edit it or something? Or like,
don't
I don't know. It's really funny.
Nah.
Yeah.
He really had like it was great. I'd recommend anyone go watch that. A lot of fun to watch him suffer.
Whoa.
So also, we also got another announcement for Minecraft fans out there. This is a long-awaited update. It's a caves update, caves and cliffs. We don't know too much about this yet, but this will be great. This has been probably the most requested feature to get upgraded. Probably since Minecraft has just been in the public consciousness. It's what everybody wants, is a expansion to the actual process of mining, because that has been. We've seen so many overworld updates, and the Nether just got updated, which is another amazing update. But we haven't seen anything in the actual caves, the actual tunnels and caves, in a long, long time. So, what do you think of this, Nick?
I'm very excited about it. What they have to do to make this work is interesting to me. Like, I guess they have to raise whatever the spawning level is for normal ground to allow for the different like cave structures to be generated. I don't understand all the technical aspects of that, but and yeah, like you said, there's a lot of overworld stuff. So you spend a ton of your time in the ground instead of just strip mining and like, oh, cool.
It's half the game. It's mine.
Yeah.
It's the mine to Minecraft.
And
so
instead of just strip mining and finding like ravines and maybe small little tunnels or whatever, these look pretty expansive, and I'm excited to dive in.
yeah,
Also,
definitely.
Also, they added the mountain goats or the goats. I hope you're able to ride those. And they added the ocelot, which is the endangered animal of this update.
Very good, very good. So, up next on the news, we got some details on Spider-Man, the PS4 games remastered. This came on a PlayStation blog post, and they changed Spider-Man's face. They changed the face model that they use. They're retaining the voice actor, and the reason they gave was that I guess this new face model works better with the voice actor's model, which doesn't really strike me as like a realistic thing. I don't know
That's sus.
how that makes sense, because they picked whoever the face model was, they picked him for the 2018 version. So I'm a little confused. I am assuming this is who they're going with for Spider-Man 2, so it does make sense if they want some consistency.
I hope they
but it does
change
seem
it
like there's
back. Like every other game, they change it.
Yeah, then they remaster it for the PS6, and it's like, yeah. And I think we got some skins revealed.
A bunch of different faces.
It's a pre-order bonus for Spider-Man Miles Morales. It looks pretty stupid to me. I'm not gonna touch that one, but that's okay.
I didn't see that skin, but
To each their own.
The face change got to be the weirdest thing of all time. Like, it's just such, like, if it ain't broke, like, I don't understand it at all.
Yeah.
Because they don't, like, there doesn't
did
seem to
anyone
be
ask for
many
that?
other
Was that a
changes.
complaint?
No, people are pissed. They're sending him death threats.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's weird. But now listen here. Did any of you? We all played this game. Did any of you notice that there was a problem with like the lip syncing in the game?
No, and also he wears a mask for 90% of the fucking game, dude.
And just like, I never noticed that, and no one noticed. I've never heard someone mention that was a problem in this game. I read reviews when it came out. Nobody was like, "Oh, the face animations look terrible." Super odd. He also looks way younger now. He looks like about 10 years younger. He looks younger than Miles Morales, who he is supposed to be the mentor for in this new game. So
Or at least the same
I'm
age.
interested. yeah, at least the same age maybe. And I'm interested kind of to see how that plays out, like when we play Miles Morales, if he, makes a large enough appearance to, I don't know how much he'll be in the game, if it'll just be a phone call or if he'll be in some cutscenes, but I don't think it's gonna look exactly right because he's supposed to be like 23, 24, and Miles is supposed to be like 15. So I don't know.
It just seems like something that
But-
definitely could have just not changed and been,
Yeah.
been fine. Just very, very
Yeah.
strange.
Overall, it's not the end of the world. Not a big deal. Just kind of a weird move. Just kind of
It's more just bizarre
I guess
than
we'll-
anything.
yeah.
It's not going to matter.
Yeah.
Like I said, he has a mask on for half the game, and even if he didn't, it's like, who cares? Like,
Yeah.
you'll get used
Yeah,
to it.
who,
It's just
who really
weird.
cares? Yeah.
Especially the people that like aren't tuned into this like type of stuff that just buy the remaster and like, what the fuck? So I saw
Yeah,
I saw the trailer for it before the press release, and I don't really have like that good of a memory of this game. I platinumed it and then I never played it again, and I was like, that doesn't look like the same guy. But like I didn't register that like they would ever change that, and I was like, oh, that's weird. And then later I saw that there was all this controversy. I was like, wow, because like I don't even, maybe I wouldn't even have noticed. But, like it was like weird, but I couldn't put my finger on like what.
It's a pretty popular. It's been a popular like addition to the Spider-Man like universe. Like a lot of people have really taken to this Peter Parker and really like the game, and he's made cameos in like several Spider-Verse comics, which is like pretty cool, stuff like that. So it's gonna be a little strange, but whatever. It's fine.
Yeah, it's not. It doesn't matter.
I'm a huge Spider-Man fan, and I really couldn't care less. So if anyone's really giving this guy death threats, I don't know.
No, they're giving
think
the director of the game death threats that I saw, not the
Oh.
actor.
Well, in that case,
Ryan
they're rightfully deserved.
No, he's a friend of the show. He's a friend of the show. Anyways, I think that's it for the news, right? I think we definitely got all of the news. So with that, guys, I think we're gonna get into the topic of the show and kicking off our game of the generation extravaganza, and we're gonna be talking about our best indie games, our favorite indie games that we've played this generation. So I kind of cut it off around when the PS4 and Xbox released, so I didn't include games from around that time. I don't know what you guys did.
I just went with what my gut told me.
About the end of 2013 to now.
Cool. Because there were a couple on the border that I just, didn't make the cut.
So are we gonna go one by one, and then if somebody says one you have, then we all just talk about it?
Yeah, I think that's
I've prepared
if we both have
6, 2, 4, 6.
Okay. I've prepared 5 for discussion, and then I have a couple honorable mentions that I put these ones at honorable mentions because I think one of you guys will mention it, but if not, whatever.
All right, who wants to start her off?
Why don't you,
Whoa.
Brian? Mr. 6.
My first one. These are in no particular order, just as they
Okay.
came to me.
Well, you better be ready to commit to a final one at the
I
end.
can if you want, but I didn't. My first one up, which would also probably be my number one if I had to pick, is Resogun, the Housemarque game from 2013. It was actually a PS Plus game, and I platinumed it. I think it was my first platinum on PS4, and it's just a wonderful little arcade spaceship shooter game. It's just extremely satisfying, both visually and from a gameplay perspective. It's just an excellent arcade game. I have very fond memories from PS4 launch with it.
It's a very fun game. I was never good enough at it to get the platinum. I don't know why. I've tried so many times. But yeah, I remember, when the PS4 first came out, I didn't have it right at launch, but I do remember the discussion being that this was like pretty much the best launch game there was.
Yeah, it definitely was.
So it definitely had, a place for that, and that kind of shows how a game like that could really shine during like a launch lineup. Nick, have you ever tried this game?
I have not.
It's good. It's fun, a lot of fun. But yeah, I knew you loved it at the time, so I'm glad to see you're still repping it.
Rezzing it,
Yeah, that's right. Save the last humans.
Yo.
Save the last humans.
I should fire this up, man. What a good game.
Yeah, no, it is a great game. Very, very visually like eye candy, just popping. You know what I
the
mean?
visuals
Like
are
all the
great.
particles
music.
looked great.
Yeah, I played this more than
Yeah,
any
great.
of the other launch games by far.
Great music. Yeah. So without further ado, why don't we move on? Nick, do you have one you'd like to talk about?
No, not really.
All right. See you later, man.
The first one I guess I'll go with is Undertale.
I have
Just
this one.
This was one of mine.
Wow.
Spider-Man
That just
pointing
goes
gif.
That just goes to show how good and impactful it is. Released in 2015, I believe, created by Toby Fox, who also made all the music. That's one of the most impressive things.
No, it's created by Bob.
Oh,
Yeah,
Bobby Fox,
and his toys.
They're
Bob.
companies that make toys for Bob. They're actually making it for Bob Fox over there. Yeah.
Well, anyway, Toby Fox made this, and he made all the music, which I think is one of the most impressive parts about this game because it's all incredible. Classic song Megalovania. I still bump waterfalls. But it's just very unique in the way that the combat is structured and how you can progress throughout the game. And I think it's one of the better, if not one of the best indie games that has come out in the last gen.
I agree. I think it does pretty amazing things in terms of like meta, making the player think about their actions in a pretty. It does it in a very simple way with the whole RPG leveling up, things like that. But it does make a great commentary on kind of. Okay, it's very much like a meta game. It's a satire filled game. So they poke fun at opening tutorials being very handholdy. They make fun of boss fights. They do all kinds of great things. It's very touching, very funny writing.
It is very funny.
Great music.
Yeah.
Very like simple but very memorable art style. And yeah, I think it succeeds in everything it tries to accomplish.
Yeah,
and the multiple endings of it also is like another impressive part about it because gives you
and
has
it remembers
replayability.
your endings.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. A lot of cool stuff going on. Everybody should check that game out.
Everybody.
Yep. That includes you, Bob. I know you listen
And
to
your
this.
toys.
Yeah, put your toys down for a second.
All right, Murph, what do you got? What have you brought for us?
All right. I liked your idea of no particular order to start off with, so I'm just gonna randomly throw out Into the Breach.
I also
Nick, I know you played
have
one.
this on my list.
Wow, look at you. So Into the Breach is developed by. Wow, the name escapes me, but they also.
Oh,
it's
Toys-
Toys,
yeah,
Toys for
Bob,
Bob.
Subset Games, and they also came out with Faster Than Light in 2012, which would definitely be on this list if it could be. Into the Breach is great. It's a top-down isometric strategy game where you control mechs and you fight aliens. Much in that kind of mech tradition. It's super tight, like very, very small maps, and it plays more like a puzzle game than a strategy game a lot of the times, where you have a certain amount of moves and you have to try and figure out how to maneuver your mechs around and take out the threat, stuff like that. Your health is represented by the buildings in the area, so every time a building is destroyed, you lose health, which is a great way of kind of making your health more than just ideally you don't want anybody to die, right? So it leads to very, very cool level design and gameplay. I think it's a lot of fun. Nick, you have anything to say about it?
I'm just glad that you introduced me to this. So it is something that you can sit down for like an hour and try to go through it. You don't have to like commit to it for a long time. You don't have to. I mean, but if you wanted to, you could try to go through it because I think you have to go through the islands or go through the worlds, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And there's all the different mech upgrades and unlocks, and you can make different mech teams, and it's very well put together. It's definitely tight and clean, like you said.
Yeah, there's a lot of replayability because you keep unlocking new mech teams. What I like is it has an in-game achievement tracker, which is why I think it'd be great on the PlayStation, which it has not come to yet. But by completing achievements, it gives you more currency to buy new teams of mech, which lets you play the game in different ways, which is a really cool way to kind of reward replayability and doing challenge runs, because you might get points for winning the game a certain way to unlock a new team, stuff like that. Very fun, like a good type of, it's a good like commute game. You can pick it up and play. I've played it on like the bus at times, stuff like that. It's great. I have it on the Switch. I think it's also on PC, maybe Xbox, but I would definitely recommend that to any strategy fan or puzzle fan. What about you, Brian?
I have not played that, but my next pick is Inside, the 2015, I believe, 2016 game by Playdead, the developers of Limbo. This is a puzzle platformer game, very disturbing and haunting visual narrative. Just an extremely memorable experience, very artistic. Its narrative is more or less completely ambiguous and all just kind of based on what, like, open-ended, I suppose. Like, it's just kind of like, here it is, and it's up to you to kind of determine what you think is actually happening, what the game is about. And it's just extremely memorable and a pretty haunting experience. Definitely one of my favorite indie games of the generation. Have either of you played this?
No, I've heard it's good.
I recommend.
I watched a full playthrough on YouTube.
It's very freaky. It's pretty short too.
Yeah, it's fun it was fun to watch. Like,
yeah, it's really visually, it's like very, very, very memorable. Like, it feels like a silent short film or something. Very cinematic.
I think that might be on PS. That might be on PS now. So maybe
you should definitely check it out. It's great. It's like probably be in my top like 15 overall games of the generation.
Nice. Spoilers for our final.
I don't know. I mean, I still got to hone down that list, but it's definitely at least as an experience, it's very high up there. Very memorable.
Cool. Nick, what's next for you?
I am gonna go with a little known game called Cuphead.
That's on mine.
Cool.
You Steeler McSteely.
That's me. Back in, what was it, 2018 when you got this? We bought this on your Xbox, Brian. I definitely made it way farther in that run than I have on my Switch run. But the art style of this, the all hand drawn animations, is obviously very memorable, and the difficulty of it is also a memorable aspect of the game.
Yeah, the boss fights.
The boss fight, yeah, it's just everything about it is great. Even like when you're facing something super challenging, but it's just like a flower with like a smiley face, so you like kind of hate yourself. Like, why is this beating me? But
yeah, Brian, I'm sure you appreciate that it's basically a boss rush, which I know you love to see in games. So
that game's awesome.
It was definitely tailored for you.
Yeah, I love that game.
how far did you ever get in this, Brian?
I don't remember. I played it on only.
You played co-op.
I only played it on Xbox. I feel like I got like maybe halfway through, and I don't. For some reason, my backlog is just way less tamed on Xbox and Switch than it is on PlayStation. Like, I'm just way more apt to play games on PlayStation, and this obviously came to Xbox first, so it fell kind of by the wayside. But even without beating it, it was definitely an awesome experience.
Yeah, I think I got through the first island on your Xbox, which we all just bummed off of back in the day. And I didn't get it on Switch. I was going to wait for PlayStation. I still haven't gotten it on PlayStation, but I do plan to pick it up at some point and try and get all the way through, because I do love that art style. It's incredible, the amount of work that went into all those hand-drawn animations. Like, it's pretty mind-boggling what they did.
Yeah,
there.
it's an awesome game.
So yeah, they definitely deserve the success. I think it's Studio MDHR or something like that.
Always love to shout out difficult platformers. One of which will probably be mentioned by one of us in the coming picks beyond this.
One funny thing is the DLC they released is called Cuphead, The Delicious Last Course, which the initials are DLC.
That's clever.
Which yeah. That's a little meta joke I picked up in The Witcher. Also, there's a character in the DLC called De La Croix, and like Geralt makes some joke about like,
that's pretty lame.
DLC. Yeah, no, I thought it was good.
I got to somewhere on the third
Uh,
island in Cuphead, but on the Xbox run. I never finished it though.
Did you end on the vulture or like the dragon, like one of those two? I think.
I think the last one I did was the bee.
I don't recall. Well, anyways, up next for me, I'm gonna shout out Hollow Knight, which is another game on this list that I loved but didn't get to beat yet. And this game I've been, I have it on both the Switch and the PlayStation. I've done multiple playthroughs. I keep getting stuck like about probably halfway through. I think just other stuff comes up and I put it down, and then it's very reliant. It's a for those that don't know, it's an indie Metroidvania game. It's probably the best Metroidvania to come out in the past 10 years, I would say. It's fantastic. It's got an incredible art direction. It's very Souls-like in its atmosphere. It has very difficult boss fights. It rewards exploration. It's pretty much everything you would want in that genre. But yeah, for some reason I haven't finished it. I think it's just you get away from it for a while, then you kind of like forget where everything is because it's a Metroidvania, so it's very reliant on navigation and knowing shortcuts and stuff. But it is a fantastic game, so gotta shout it out. Did you play that, Nick?
I
don't
did.
think you did, Brian.
No, I
I
didn't.
did play it, but that was at a time when I was taking the train, and I took the train like 2 times, and then like it had been a long time since I was able to take the train again, and then I had lost my spot, and like you said, you can't go back into it where you were.
Yeah, you got to really kind of try and do it all in one like weekend or something, which is what I got to try and do at some point. But it is fantastic. I will want to play the second game when it comes out, so hopefully that'll kind of push me to finish up this one. All right, what's up? What's up next?
I know earlier I said Resogun would probably be my number one of these, but this might be it too. We don't know. That's why we're not doing ranks. But this game is absolutely incredible, and it is What Remains of Edith Finch.
Yeah,
That was awesome.
Do either of you have that?
I put it as an honorable mention because I knew you would say it, and I wanted to like get some other games in there.
Fair enough. Nick?
I also had it as honorable mention.
Honorable mention.
But it is fantastic.
Yeah,
it's fantastic.
Really beautiful story, and I still love the final lines of the game very, very much. It's pretty rare, I feel like, for a game to address the content and the themes that this game does. It's very dark and disturbing. Sort of lacking from a gameplay perspective. It's mostly just a walking simulator, and I know that a lot of people give that genre shit. But in terms of like, I predominantly am a movie guy, and this is a very, story focused game, so it really resonated with me. The story across the board is very powerful and very, emotional. Like it's striking in the way that it presents its themes and themes that you don't traditionally see in a video game, but it does it in a very tasteful and thoughtful way. Like it never really feels pretentious or preachy. It's just extremely creative and atmospheric. And again,
very down to earth, but also very like metaphysical at times and very supernatural. And it's such a great.
There's very good diversity of like the set pieces too. Like it's the pacing is very, very well done. It's not particularly long. Like a lot of these games can be beaten pretty quickly, but in terms of story, this is definitely, I think, one of the great games of the generation.
Yeah, I'd say you compare it to a movie, it's about the same length. I think I beat it in about maybe 2 hours, maybe a little bit more, but what a fantastic way to spend an evening.
Yeah, I beat it in a sitting.
You can partake, people that don't play games can watch it with you. It's a great experience, and I think walking simulators are kind of a unique genre because they're able to tell stories that obviously like you're not going to be able to tell in an Uncharted or a Last of Us, where at some point people need to start shooting, right? So it kind of limits the scope when you have a violence-based, gameplay-based game, and those games are also excellent. But this kind of opens the scope, I think, walking simulators to more grounded stories about more everyday life, and it's cool to see something like that.
Yeah, I want to give a shout out. The developers, Giant Sparrow, I believe, and they also did and they also did the Unfinished Swan Last Generation, which is a terrific indie game as well, and there's a good tie-in to the Unfinished Swan and Edith Finch that made me clutch my chest. So they're awesome. I can't wait to see whatever they do next.
Yeah, have they announced anything
I'm
coming
just
up
about
yet?
to Google that because
Well, I'm actually googling it right now and I couldn't find anything. So
but they're great.
yeah, I will anxiously be awaiting their next project.
Have you ever played Unfinished Swan? You should play that.
No, I know that. I know I need to. That is on PS now, so I do need to play
That game
at some point.
is just wonderful. It's much more lighthearted and endearing than Edith Finch, but it's definitely worth the play. Well, actually, I guess it's
Oh,
not
right.
endearing and lighthearted once you play Edith Finch because it does tie into Edith Finch, which makes it sad in retrospect.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Nick.
Brian.
Wait, so Brian, you don't think? Wait, hold on. What's the song that plays in this game? Oh, Sandra Cohen, like
Yeah.
the song that plays. What's the name of that? It's called like Dance of the something.
I don't know off the top of my head. Is that what plays in the bathtub scene?
Yeah, I was gonna say that's quite a lighthearted scene, don't you think?
Yeah, the ending of that game is so good though. It's like so, like after all that sadness, it's like really optimistic and
Yeah.
I live the fish canning factory scene every day.
that's worrying.
Yeah. I mean, if you've played that game, if you know, you know. But yeah, that's another big recommendation I think from all of us. So now, on to Nicholas. What do you have next?
Tim, I'm gonna go ahead and guess that you also have this game on your list, and if you don't,
Then I think I know what it is.
shame on you. Stardew Valley.
Of course.
Ew.
Yes. Brian is a simpleton and hasn't even tried this game.
I've played it. It's good.
Brian did
I
try
liked
it
it.
actually.
But then
On the
But
Switch.
then Animal
I
Crossing
believe.
came out and I never played it again. But no, that game's good.
All right, that's fair.
Yeah, it's basically a 2D, like basically Super Nintendo graphics styled version of Animal Crossing, where you have a farm.
I think
It's a
it's
country-like
way
simulator.
deeper than Animal Crossing.
No, yeah, it
Don't-
is.
Yeah,
Don't cut it
yeah.
short, Tim.
But-
it's
but
not a version. Of Animal
If you're
Crossing.
gonna compare it to a game people know, I would say
Yeah, I
that's,
guess.
that's the game. Very easygoing, very stress free. It's such a great game to play to relax and chill out. Just like Animal Crossing, my girlfriend, I got her into this game and she really enjoyed it as well. I think she played it more than I did by the end of it. So, it's a fantastic game. It has a wide appeal. I simply love games like this where you have a farm. I liked Farmville. I think we talked about it like a week or two ago, right? It's basically the realization of Farmville where you don't have to, pay to win.
Are you guys out of picks?
No.
I have one more on my
Honorable
list.
mentions? Oh. I think one
Yeah,
of
I can keep-
my next one. If neither of you say my next one, I'll be very surprised. But continue.
Yeah. But great game.
Yeah,
Brian,
definitely.
any thoughts? Nick, any other thoughts?
Definitely.
I mean, I
play
played
it
it
if
for
you
like an hour
haven't.
and a half, so I don't really.
I never got to. I think it's year 3 when like the thing happens. I don't want to say, but
Oh, I don't know what the thing is, and maybe I didn't get to year 3.
I never got to there. But I did play it a lot, and honestly, if you want to make, I think it's better in almost every aspect over Animal Crossing.
I mean, probably yeah.
I would tend to agree in many aspects. It's much better. I think Animal Crossing has a wider appeal for various reasons. But I do think Stardew Valley at what it sets out to do is just much better in terms of like quality of life. And I was always wondering like what would Animal Crossing's response be to this? And they did. I mean, they put out an amazing game. But there are things where they didn't quite like reach the peak of Stardew Valley. And I think in terms of like, min-maxing your farm, having it kind of actually be like competitive to grow stuff, and the narrative, the personal, I mean, I think all the characters have such a great like personality, and it's a stark contrast to Animal Crossing where there's, over 400 villagers, but they all, I think, borrow from about 7 or 8 archetypes, which, there's no variation within those. So you get repeating dialogue. As soon as if you have 10 villagers in your village, which is the max, you're guaranteed to have at least 2 characters that are the exact same in terms of their dialogue. Whereas Stardew Valley only has, whatever, like 20 something people in the town, and it's static. It doesn't change, but they are all, set to a
handcrafted.
calendar. They have events. You can build relationships with all of them, give gifts, romance some of them. And yeah, very handcrafted and all very well written and very unique. So they do different things. And I don't know. I think I'll always have a soft spot for Stardew Valley. I played it when I was studying for the LSAT, so quite a few years ago. But that was very stressful time, and it was like the only game I played back then, and it was a great way to unwind after some hectic studying. I think it's my turn, right?
Yes, sir.
Sure.
Sure.
So I've got one game left in my top 5, and I can also do an honorable mention if we run out. So I don't know how many games you guys have left. If you want me to say the honorable mention, or if you want me to just do my final.
I mean, I
finally have one left.
I feel like you guys have
Okay,
to
cool.
have the one I have, but we'll see.
I hope we all have the same one.
Then maybe I'm forgetting something, because you guys haven't played my final game, Return of the Obra Dinn.
What about your honorable mention?
My honorable mention is Dead Cells.
Oh wow, huh? Surprised.
Right.
There's a glaring
Well,
omission in your list.
Yeah, Brian. Let's
It's
get
entirely
him.
possible that I completely forgot about it. And
Nick, I can't
When I came
hear
close.
you. What did you say?
So let's get him.
Do you know what mine is?
I have a strong suspicion.
Okay.
well, all right, let's build the suspicion up for a little bit.
All right,
Let me tell you about my favorite pirate game,
All right. So Nick.
Return. So this is, if I could recommend one game on this list, I would recommend this one, because it's probably the one that gets the least amount of publicity. It's one of the best design games I've ever played, period. It's
Better than Destruction All Stars?
it makes you feel okay. I think I know what the other indie game is, actually. That just reminded me of something. But it makes you feel like Sherlock Holmes. It makes you feel like a genius when you figure things out. It's a mystery where you have to solve a bunch of murders, and pretty much the only thing you rely on is your own observation and deductive reasoning. And it's so much fun. Everybody should check it out. It's a very unique game, very unique art style, really cool, like spooky story. Great to play with other people. I would not have finished it as easily as I did if I wasn't working on it with my girlfriend, and we had just a bunch of fun kind of like discussing our theories, like trying things out, looking for more evidence around the ship.
How does this compare
It's
to Outer
fantastic.
Worlds? Or not
Outer
what the-
Wilds.
Outer Wilds. God,
That's a good
I hate
question.
that,
And
dude.
Outer Wilds, now that you mention it, should definitely be on my honorable mention. I was thinking about it earlier this weekend, but then I forgot to put it when I made the list. When I put the list down, that's a very similar game in terms of like you're figuring things out, and the only progression is through your own knowledge. That's like those are the only two games that I know that do that to that level. That's a very similar game, and I think I like Obra Dinn a lot more because it's more focused on one specific thing, and I think it just does everything a little bit better. And Outer Worlds is a little bit more.
Outer Wilds.
Yeah. But yeah, that outer space game. But I think they're both fantastic. And yeah, shout out to Dead Cells,
Toys
and
from
shout out to
Bob.
Outer Wilds. Shout out to Dead Bob's game, Hollow Bob, Return of the Obra Bob.
All right, Brian. Do we want to do a
Dead
little
Cells,
drum roll
great
here
action game.
before we?
Are you guys? How about we rev our engines up for what you guys are gonna say?
I feel
Oh
like
wow,
we
you
don't,
finally.
I don't even know if we. No, I don't even think we have the same one.
What? Murph caught
No.
on.
Oh wow.
Tim caught on to what I was going for.
No, and I caught on too, but so we don't.
Oh,
And I wasn't sure if that was
I
indie
don't really know
entirely.
if that even counts.
I
That
don't
was
think
definitely indie
Psyonix
when
is
it
an
came
indie
out.
developer.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, was it though? I think Psyonix is like.
there's 100% indie. Anyway, I'm talking about Rocket League. If you haven't caught on yet.
That's a good pick. I mean,
Yeah,
I
good.
didn't
good pick.
think of that. That didn't register as indie.
I mean, it might be
It
one
also
of the most
didn't
successful
register as
indie
indie
games
for
of all
me.
time, if we're being honest.
if you want to qualify it as indie,
I
then
do
yeah,
want to
it is
qualify it
the
as an
most,
indie.
probably.
That's why I put it on this list.
Other than mine, I would say Minecraft is probably the most successful.
Yeah, that's facts.
Yeah.
Hold on.
All right. Well, without further ado, let's hear about it.
Well, my last pick is Rocket League, as we have been discussing. And I'm sure everyone has played it because there's been like something like 25 million players. And it is probably the second most successful indie game behind Minecraft. The multiplayer space is really not something that the indie games really focus on because everything we've talked about so far is pretty much single player. But for it to come onto the scene and be such a revelation and a fresh breath of air into a multiplayer experience is something that was really special and continues to be special because it's still extremely popular and it's still receiving content. It just became free to play so that Epic can make their money. But yeah, I mean, it speaks for itself how good it is that we still love to go back to it time and time again when we want to play something together that's a little bit, less serious because we're not good. And
Nick, I agree with everything you said. I think you put it perfectly. I've also been doing some internet sleuthing, and Psyonix was founded in the year 2000. It's been around for 20 years, and they've released a handful of games. I don't know if it's
what does the lifespan of the developer have to do with indie
they have a
or not?
website. You can apply. They're hiring careers at Psyonix.
Yeah, jobs do that. They gotta hire people somewhere.
Yeah, well, indie usually doesn't strike me as a place with an HR department and stuff like that.
I mean,
I guess I would define indie as probably by the size of the studio. I don't know. I don't know how many people they have.
yeah, so.
It's quite possible they're indie. I would imagine that game was made by like more than like 20 or 30 people. At that point, I'd say it's probably just like a small developer. But maybe it's indie. Were they associated with a publisher at the time?
I don't know.
I don't know either. I'm gonna say it's fine. It's an indie game.
Yeah, it is. Thanks for finally agreeing with me. Okay, just because they were there for 20 years, let me know if you've heard of or played any of these games. Proteus, Vampire Hunter, The Dark Prophecy, Nosgoth, Monster Madness, Grave Danger, Supersonic Acrobat Rocket Power Battle Cars.
I've heard
that. Sounds like it's Rocket League.
It's like Rocket League is basically a sequel to that.
Whizzle, Arc Squadron Redux, and Rocket League. I don't think the time that they were founded matters at all.
I think that plays into the fact if it's a well-established team that's been making games for 2 decades, I wouldn't really call it an indie thing. What say you, Brian? I was willing to grant it to Nick, but he had to come back and he wanted to.
It's granted already. We talked about it.
Let's see. Define indie game. I mean, let's see. Let's get down to business here.
I think it all comes down to the size of their company. I couldn't find any
it says
information.
Rocket League cements itself as an indie sensation, with not according to Adventure Beat.
And does it say anything of like how many people worked on it?
Let's see.
I'm reading a Reddit thread, which is actually this entire argument, and it basically it seems like people are disagreeing, and that it's a
AA.
People are saying it's like a AA or A developer because like I think makes sense based on like the fact that it released on PlayStation right away with like a big tie-in with PS Plus and like had microtransactions ready. It had servers. Like those are like pretty big things to come out right away. I think it's close. I don't think there's a true definition of indie. So
I'm standing for him.
If it's on the border. If it's on the border, that makes sense. It's in a gray area between what is and isn't indie. At some point, you got to draw a line. But yeah, I think it's fine. I think it's a, for all intents and purposes, an indie game.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought of that. Like, totally slipped my mind. I feel yeah.
Yeah, it currently doesn't strike me as an indie game.
Well, obviously
at
not
the time
now.
it released,
Is Fall Guys an indie game?
Yes.
I don't know enough about it, but if we're saying Rocket League, as I would say Fall Guys would be too. Are they? No, that's a Devolver Digital, so it by definition can't be indie because it's not independent.
Ah.
I don't know if Psyonix was teamed up with a publisher. I don't know if like Sony published Rocket League first or how that worked, but if it was independently published, that would be a big point in its favor. But that is not the point of this show, is it? What's up next?
Brian, what's yours? Because I thought we were on the same page there.
I'm very surprised neither of you said this. Celeste?
No, I considered it, but I didn't. No.
Yeah,
Interesting.
I thought about it, but I didn't
Wow.
beat it, so I didn't want to put it in there.
I didn't beat it either. That's why I saved it for last, but it's still definitely. I also considered Towerfall Ascension, but I mean, I think when you're comparing the two, this is the better game. I do want to
Arrow
circle
sh-
back.
Oh,
to,
I don't know about
Arrow
that.
Shooter
I
guy
don't know
game
about
is
that.
way better than Celeste.
Don't agree with that
Right.
at all. But I
But yeah, I did think of putting Celeste up there as an honorable mention. But yeah, I didn't play. I only played through half of it or something. What I played is great.
yeah, I want to circle back to it eventually, but I thought it was worth mentioning. But yeah, I don't have
Definitely, yeah.
enough to say really because I didn't get too. I think I got
Right.
halfway through. That was on my list of
based on
platinum
just-
for a while, but I just never did it.
Same. Based on just like the review cycle at the time it came out, I know it's definitely on the list for a lot of people. Just I personally, from what I played, it's a very great platformer, but it doesn't, it doesn't hold a candle to some of the other games up here for me personally. Maybe playing through it all the way, I would change my mind, but yeah, it is a great game. Now Towerfall Ascension, on the other hand,
That's a game.
that is a great game.
Tim, we need to get to battle soon.
Yeah, that game is fantastic.
Does that have online? Like, if I were to
No, it
buy it,
doesn't.
man, that's a shame.
No, yeah.
But
So couch co-op only. Speaking of couch co-op only, another honorable mention is Gang Beasts.
yeah.
Not a good game, but like a fun game. So, that's a very similar couch co-op battler game type of thing. But I think that's all I have. Are you guys willing to put forward one that you think is your favorite of the generation overall, bar none?
Edith
Bar
Fincher,
none,
Can you
no.
make
Resogun.
such a statement?
Yeah, Edith Fincher or Resogun, or like those are the top two.
What'd you say, Nick?
I mean, to bar none, like pick one, I wouldn't be confident in that, but I would pick Stardew out of my list.
All right, Stardew, that's your top. Brian's refusing to pick one.
Because they're too different. It's like best story is this, and best gameplay like experience is that.
All right. Well,
Wait, what's yours?
Brian? I don't know yet. I agree. It's tough. I'm falling back and forth here.
Unreal.
I'm gonna go. Man, it's really hard. I'm thinking Return of the Obra Dinn or Stardew Valley probably, but Undertale is like it's almost like overrated and like you know what I mean. It's so like exposed and so many people love it that it's almost like I don't need to say it's the best, but it is. I mean, people love it for a reason. It's fantastic. So it's a tough question. I'd say for me personally, I'm gonna go with Return of the Obra Dinn just because of how memorable of an experience it was. Maybe it's not an objective rating, but I think just in terms of when I was playing it, I think I had such a great time with it that I'm willing to give it to that.
Fair enough.
It's a fun little indie that I just like thought about now that I didn't really play at all.
Red Dead
Is-
Redemption 2.
Yeah. Is Baba Is You. That's a cool mechanic.
Oh, great one, Nick. How did I? Yeah, that's an honorable mention. That's an honorable mention for sure. I mean, that could even be. I mean, that's top 5 material, but
Great mechanics.
it's super
and that,
fun.
but-
The only problem, yeah, that game is fantastic. Everybody should check that out. Like, it's hard to even explain what it is. Just like look up the trailer and it'll show you what it is. Basically, it's like programming language is the gameplay, but it's way more fun than that sounds. Super fun. It just gets really, really hard at a certain point. Like I played through like 1 or 2 worlds of it, and then it gets to the point where it's like it's not about like being creative anymore. It's about like trial and error, and at that point, I just stopped playing because it wasn't very fun. But yeah, what a fantastic concept. That's what makes indie games so great. It's just the ingenuity, the smaller team like leads to a more unified vision, I think, and there's less money wrapped up in it, so they're not as afraid to try unique ideas, and that's where a lot of innovation comes from.
Yes, sir.
When we're doing this episode for the next generation, whenever that will be in 2028, maybe we can maybe look back and talk about Pseudo-Ludo, the video game.
Excuse me? Is there something you know that I don't?
I think Nick has an announcement that neither of us are privy to at the time.
Stay tuned.
Official announcement coming later. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Okay. All right. Wow. Well, with that, bombshell announcement, why don't we wrap it up? Because I don't think we're gonna top that. So I'll see you guys next week for our next discussion of the generation.
Yes, sir.
Nick, where can they find us? They can find us on Twitter at PseudoLittleCast. They can find us on Instagram at PseudoLittlePod, and they can find us on YouTube as well. All right, that's it.
All right. Well, I'll catch you guys on the flippity flip.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Well, Nick, they can find us on Twitter at PseudoLittleCast. They can find us on Twitter at PseudoLittlePod.